Hey, everyone. Andy Hall. This is the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. I guess that's what we're calling it now, right? We usually start off with something a little funny, but since there's only a few of us here and more people will come in, I think the handful of people who are here will enjoy this little bit, and it won't play as well later on in the show. So we're going to be doing this.
I was born in a Dublin street where the royal drums the beat, and those loving English feet, they walked all over us. Oh, and every single night when me da would come home tight, he'd invite the neighbours out with this fine chorus. Come out, you black and tans, come out and fight me like a man. Show your wife how you won medals down in Flanders. Oh, and how the IRA made you run like Hathaway from the green and lovely lanes of Killishandra. Come tell us how you slew them all out of 2 by 2. Like the Zulus, they had spears and bows and arrows. Oh, how bravely you faced one with your 16-pounder gun, and you frightened them poor natives to the marrow.
All right, like I said, that's an early morning. That's the early part of the show video that a handful of us can appreciate. Maybe people who tune in later won't. I thought it was the right artistic choice. That's what I thought. Hope everyone's doing well. Tobin Templeman, how you doing? Oh, about the Snopes going through the Laughing and Disbelief articles. Yeah, they don't touch on every one of them. It's only Snopes only responds to articles I think that are fairly popular or that people write into them. People write in, via email or on the Facebook page, wondering whether or not this is true or not. Hey, Wild Eden, how you doing? So yeah. And Digital Bookworm makes the point that Snopes, the fact-checking site, mentioned another one of my articles, Marjorie Taylor Greene trying to pass anti-witchcraft legislation. Yeah. They've been touching on a few of my posts recently, which I'm not unhappy about, to tell you the truth. I'm not unhappy about it. Simply Secular, how you doing? Digital Bookworm, and of course Phil Lister from the Danish island of Bonum. Bonum? I'm going to try to pronounce that properly. I don't know if I did that justice or not. And that's all you can do, right? Whether or not you can do the topic justice, whatever you're doing, whether you're pronouncing a foreign name or doing the news or comedy, whatever. Hello, John Hudson and Jess M. Marmaduke Scarlet, we got the regular Rogues Gallery here. Very good, very good. So I'm always looking to level up the show in a very non-technical way, right? Because I'm not a technical person. I'm thinking, is there a way that I can, what is MTG? Marjorie Taylor Greene, Marmaduke Scarlet. She is a representative from Northwestern Georgia, QAnon follower, big conspiracy person, big conspiracy advocate, big supporter of former President Donald J. Trump. That's who. Simply Secular, Samuel Gray, always changing the names, always changing some of the title there. So so I had this crazy idea. My girlfriend thought it was a crappy idea, by the way, but I thought I'd ask you all. I'm always trying to figure out how I can be funnier, more entertaining, more of a hook. And of course, so I came up with this idea. I don't know if this is a good idea, so I thought I would pass it by you guys and see what you think. Let's see. I've been watching a lot of John Oliver lately. Should I adapt a John Oliver accent? Yes or no? Let me tell you the just for the morning show too. All the other shows I would play straight. I would just play it straight. And I'm thinking for those of us who are old enough to remember Andy Kaufman or those kind of performers that you would just, play the character basically. And I was considering that, maybe a Jonathan Pye accent, the similarities between the John Oliver accent and the Jonathan Pye accent. I don't know if it would add anything to the show. I think it might be funnier. I don't know. And that's the thing. Comedians don't know really. We have a basic idea about what's funny and what's not funny. But basically, it's like we are just in a darkened room, and we are just a bunch of people trying to pour hot soup into a container, much like Young Frankenstein. That's all that we do, is that we think this is where it should go, the funny, but we don't know. So that's one of my queries, one of my questions that I don't know if it would work or not. Well, obviously, nipple tassels would increase the entertainment. Thank you, Phil Lister. Gonna take that under advisement, sir. That's what I'm going to do. Trey Crowder has a very nice, yeah, that's not fake. He is from, I believe, Tennessee. From I think we had 2 conversations on the Naked Diner podcast. So, well, Simply Secular, I was thinking about that too. Thinking about I could have a cutaway segment where you play that type of character. Maybe he does a rabbit debunking kind of thing. Yeah. I was thinking about doing a certain segment with different characters. I've actually reached out to a couple of, actually one person. I'm not going to lie to you. I've reached out to one person and a local comedian to see if he could do a segment or 2, but he doesn't seem too hot on the idea. So I am seeking people out to see if they want to do any kind of contributions. But it's not a bad idea for me just to do this takeaway segment in the accent, playing another character and then weaving it in here. I like that idea. Oh, yeah, that's a spell. Prayers are just spells. In fact, prayers are just less than spells, because we all know the difference between a miracle and magic, right? Magic is at least somewhat proto-science, right? There is an attempt to understand how the world works in some kind of reasonable way, and that there are laws. There might be magical laws. They're not really scientific laws, but magic has basic principles that you are working in. Miracles are just usurpation. The natural order is usurped. That's what it is. The natural order is usurped. Good morning, everyone. Derek Cruz. Can you put your other chat line up on your screen? Well, that's a very interesting question, because I hear what other chat line is that? Because I'm only doing StreamYard, just to let everyone know, to get into the deep. People who do stream know that I just do basic straight StreamYard. I don't touch OBS. I've heard stories about OBS. I've heard stories until I actually get an engineer, which would be ideal, or someone who can show me how to do stuff. I'm just basically, this is a punk band. This is a punk band morning news show with cats. I have a green screen. This was a big step forward for me. And StreamYard is so simple. Even I can operate it with my monkey fists. Young's work on the shadow self is interesting. Well, Marmaduke Scarlet. Don't get me going about Carl Jung, because I was a big Jungian back in my early days when I was an undergraduate, as well as a grad student in psychology. So yeah, all right. So maybe I'll play around. I'll play around with segments, right? I'll play around with a takeaway segment with a character who has a British accent. That could be something fun. Yeah. So let's do something memes, right? We'll do memes. And check it. This is from Jonathan Borello. Jonathan Borello does a series of comics on Pathos Non-Religious. He's been on the show a couple of times. He's a stand-up comedian, an exceptionally talented stand-up comedian, as well as a cartoonist. All of our core beliefs are at odds with the scientific consensus on literally everything. How could all those scientists be so wrong? How could they? How could they? And if you know Jonathan's work, this is the character who is the fundamentalist, evangelical, religious type here. It speaks to a truth, everyone. Comedy. Truth masquerading as comedy. All right, let's see what else we got on here. What's the next one? Oh, Bugs Bunny. We had a Bugs Bunny meme the other day. Bugs Bunny, Brer Rabbit, the trickster, very close, near and dear to my heart. God, after inventing multiple religions to sell different books. What a great plan, God. And you say God doesn't need money. Yes, he does. Of course he needs money. Of course he needs money. He asks for it all the time, or his people do. And this is not really as much a meme as something just funny. I feel like we're a cat-heavy show, and we got to give some love to dogs. And so here it is. I don't know how long it took the person to get those two dogs to do this particular thing in these majestic poses. Maybe it's photoshopped. I don't know, but I love it. I think it's hilarious. And like I said, you got to give some respect to dogs, since this is the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. We got to include we're an inclusive show, everyone. We're an inclusive show. And this actually brings us to our first story right from Poland. I'm going to tease the story with an image from all the links are in the description, but you know that, right? Here it is, Mother Mary and Jesus with a halo of the LGBTQ flag. Now, what's wrong with that? Why is that in the news? Well, I'm glad you asked. It has to do with Poland and bigotry and people who don't understand what rights are. Poland activists acquitted over LGBT Virgin Mary. It's gotten to now I only know a little bit about Poland. I read the news every once in a while about Poland, but it becomes more and more evident to me that it seems to be kind of schlepping towards being a Catholic state with window dressing of freedom, of democracy. But let's go through this story, because this is a victory. This is a victory for the Enlightenment, a victory for freedom in Poland. 3 Polish women have been found not guilty for offending religious feelings over protests depicting the Virgin Mary with a rainbow halo. The activists displayed the images in 2019 in response to an Easter display describing gender and LGBT as sins. The icon used in the artwork, Our Lady of, I'm going to butcher this, Czeskołała, is revered by many Polish Catholics. The women would have faced up to 2 years in prison if found guilty in the case. The decision comes just days after a heavy metal singer in Poland launched a legal defense fund for artists accused of blasphemy. As many of us know, Poland was part of the Russian Empire for centuries. For centuries? I think we can go as far as centuries. Yeah, I'm checking my historical knowledge, and I think it was centuries. And funny thing, on Good Friday, there would be pogroms launched after Good Friday services against Jews. So I believe it was in White Russia, well, throughout the Russian Empire, to tell you the truth. But I think it was mostly prevalent in Eastern Europe, where there were, Jews there. And so there is this, just as the West has its issues with anti-Semitism, to say the least, due to the Catholic Church and the Lutheran Church, Eastern Europe, Russia, they have their anti-Semitism, their history, their predisposition for attacking people on Good Friday. That's just a random bit of, historical knowledge there. But let's get back to the LGBT story in Poland. The case began in 2019, in the city of Plock, to protest against what one activist called the exclusion of LGBT people from society. Nobody should be excluded from society. Oh man, here's another name. Elizbieta Podolesna told the BBC at the time, sexual orientation is not a sin or a crime, and the Holy Mother would protest such people from the church and from priests who think it's okay to condemn others. But the charges were supported by politicians. Politicians are always some politicians are happy to pile on and support religious bigots because that's an easy way to get votes. But the charges were supported by some politicians, with the country's then Interior Minister Joachim Brzezinski responding that all that nonsense about freedom and tolerance does not give anyone the right to insult the feelings of the faithful. Actually, it does. You know, the freedom of speech protects unpopular speech. There's a lot of people who just want the freedom of speech to protect popular speech that they like. Well, it doesn't work like that, because that speech isn't really needing protection. It's the unpopular speech that needs protection. Activists have accused Poland of breaching EU obligations over its response to LGBT activists. President Andrzej Duda, I butchered his name, I'm sorry, an ally of the ruling Nationalist Law and Justice Party, PIS, I'm going to pronounce that as PIS, was narrowly reelected to a second term in 2020, but during the campaign, he described campaigns for LGBT rights as even more destructive than communism, and proposed including a ban on same-sex marriage and adoption in the country's constitution. Poland does not currently recognize same-sex unions, whether those are marriages or civil unions. Same-sex couples are also legally banned from adopting children. So there you go. LGBT, the idea about supporting and protecting LGBT rights, advocating for them, worse than communism, according to this politician. I bet he'd be friends with Trump. Maybe he's already friends with Trump. I don't know. All right, checking out the chat here. Dr. Mordecai just gunned a cup of coffee. Come at me. I'm ready. Good for you. All right. I'm drinking hot chocolate today. Yeah, I know. It's blasphemy, right? This is the real blasphemy. I'm not even drinking coffee right now. This is hot chocolate. I should send me to the gulag. The idea, right? It's so insulting to compare striving for equality for people with who are LGBT with communism, Stalinism, you know, Leninism. Yeah, it's just so wrong on so many different levels. Marmaduke Scarlet says that's good. Poland hasn't been doing well lately. Indeed. I've seen a dog who regularly rides a pony, not trained. They just made a pact, huh? I would love to see the negotiations or hear the negotiations between that dog and a pony about what the deal is about the dog riding the pony. And you know, what's interesting is that are there dogs and ponies in the wild that have made the agreement? And there are just like wild dogs out there on the plains or in the highlands, just riding ponies. That'd be pretty cool. Cocoa has prebiotics. Yep, I think it's, thank you, Marmaduke Silent, for supporting I think, a poor decision. I can feel my pancreas dying a little out of time here from the sugar in the hot chocolate, but that's the whole thing. Hey, David Paul, wait, but here, that's what counts. What does the pony get out of it? That's a very good question, the girlfriend. I have no idea. I have no idea. All right, so that was the first story. We're talking about a victory for 3 women in Poland who are being accused of blasphemy for putting halos around. Here's the offending art. Here's the offending art here. And this is why these women were facing jail time in Poland. And in terms of art, it's not like they're putting Jesus in a bottle of pee, right? Those of us of a certain age remember that so-called controversy from years ago. All right, so Texas. All right, so you say to yourself, Andy Hall, we've been covering Texas for the last, ever since the wintry disaster, right? The winter disaster, and this is a story in 2 parts, by the way. This is going to be a Texas-heavy episode. The first story about Texas, in the wake of the power grid failing, of the generators failing, of the natural gas generators failing, people, Republicans, conservatives want you to believe it's renewable energy failing, but no, it's the fact that the state didn't didn't make the companies winterize their gear, basically didn't make them winterize their generators. And of course, Texas is its own grid. It's not connected to any other, it isn't part of the national grid. That's simplifying the situation, but it's basically, it covers up at least 80% of the truth there. It covers 80% of what went wrong in Texas. So you ask yourself, how could things get worse in Texas? Maybe that's not a question you actually thought. Maybe you just assumed Texas was going to make it all worse. It's already in a hole, but why not dig deeper into the pit of stupidity, of late stage capitalism? Why not just dig that hole a little bit deeper? Some Texas workers face having their pay docked for days without power. That's right. There are people in Texas, regular everyday workers, who are, because they don't have any electricity, because they have pipes burst in their homes, because they couldn't get to work, they're now facing problems at work. Texas was gripped by a historic winter storm last month that killed as many as 80 people and overwhelmed its electrical grid, leaving millions without power and water. But even under these treacherous conditions, some companies asked employees to log on to work from home or make the journey to work or lose pay. A 43 engineer who asked to remain anonymous for fear of retaliation said her employer, a defense company, asked her to use vacation days or make up for lost work hours during the days her internet was down before the electricity was out. Yeah, we know it's a natural disaster, and we know there's no way you can work, but how about just using your vacation pay to cover it? We're trying to stay warm here overnight, she said. Worrying about whether or not we're working is an unnecessary burden. Indeed, with no power, she had no internet and no way to sign into work. She huddled with her husband and 2 children in her living room, clutching mugs of boiled water as they waited out the storm. That boiled water probably wasn't just to stay warm, but also because there was probably a boil water order because the water supply was iffy. A group of workers with several large companies told the Daily Beast, which first reported the complaints, that they were also asked to use days without power as personal time or forgo pay. Here's something else. Here's another sad story in this Texas tale. A 30-year-old representative with a click-to-chat call center in Texas said she and her husband lost power for 4 days at their home in, Naco, Dodges, as temperatures dropped into the teens. On Tuesday, the company told employees that roads were too dangerous to go to work. So the company told them not to go to work. A pipe burst in the office, forcing the company to close their business Wednesday and Thursday, but it did not allow employees to use paid time off to cover the days. Instead, workers had to accept no pay. Let me repeat that. The workers had to accept no pay. The call center representative said her check was docked $200. So let's just review this again. These people may be getting skyrocketing electrical bills, right? We know that their electricity bills, there are some plans, many plans in Texas that are variable pay. We covered this last week, maybe the week before. So there are variable pay rate plans that the more electricity being used, you have to pay more. There are some people with incredible bills, like $17,000, $7,000. So not only do you have to worry about fighting with the electricity company about paying or not paying that outrageous electricity bill, but now you're getting docked by your employer. You're getting docked by your employer too at the same time. Storms, the storm poses new questions for worker protections in the era of mounting climate change risks, says Cornelia Alvarez, a staff lawyer with Legal Aid of Northwest Texas. Workers who were unable to work during the storm or who were fired because they could not find transportation to work may be eligible for unemployment benefits, Alvarez said. But for people who are still without power or who do not have access to the internet, applying for benefits for cover missing days of work could be difficult while they are also fixing water, broken pipes, or water damage. I know a lot of people are still kind of dealing with having to repair their home or trying to get back to normal, she said. I think we are all still trying to collect our thoughts. Here's the thing. Climate change isn't going away. The Arctic is getting warmer. That pushes to simplify climatology 101. As the Arctic gets warmer, cold air has a tendency, or the jet stream bulges, and that's what caused or helped cause this wintry disaster in Texas. They had a similar disaster. They had a similar storm in 2011. They had another storm like this in 1989. These storms aren't going away. The climate crisis isn't going away anytime soon. These workers are being abandoned by their companies, because that's how capitalism works here in the United States of America. That's what happens here, unfortunately. And I'm angry. Maybe, yes, I am angry. But, maybe I have anger exhaustion this morning, because I can't really pull up the rage. Oh yeah, girlfriend says she was there in 1989 for the disaster, for the blizzard. Jeez, John Hudson. My well pump was blown by a power surge, so no well water. Glad I put in rain collection and have 17,000. That's smart. And that is great. And if you're in a situation, or if you're in a state that doesn't give you good services, then that's definitely the right thing to do. Of course, the goal is to create states and to create a government that actually enforces regulation and has good regulation to begin with, and good workers' rights. No, thank you, the girlfriend. Naco Doches, right? Very nice, very nice. Well, I didn't want to sound like I was ordering nachos, the girlfriend. I didn't want to sound like I was ordering nachos at Chili's. So Naco Doches, that's good. I feel like I have a grasp on the word. U.S. It's great that we have non-American citizens of the United States of America, or people not living here, so they can say, yes, these stories are true. U.S. unemployment laws are horrific. They are horrific. Speaking of non-citizens of the United States of America, Critical Cripple, what's up? Talking about Texas, talking about how that Texas was able to make a horrible situation worse, and then almost like squared that worseness. That's not a word. It was bad. It was really bad, and now it's just worse for some people. All right. So what have we covered so far? We covered the victory for the LGBT activists in Poland, and we talked about Texas and about how Texas workers are suffering from companies just being dicks, basically. Just being dicks. Well, that's it. Simply secular. U.S. employment laws are the reason that so many U.S. companies unionize. It's just true, So let's see. What are we going to do? We're going to go. This is about the halftime show. We're going to do a halftime show. We're going to do a little funny, something to put a smile on your face. So let's go do that.
You come here, dude.
What's up?
Okay, so I wrote a song, and I think it's very important, and I think the world needs to hear it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Have you seen this video? The bear that
learned how to use nunchucks? Yeah.
Listen to this.
Sharp claws, big teeth, a pair of nunchucks. He does what he wants and just gives one fuck. And that's wrecking fools. Nunchuck bear wreck the fools so he can protect the schools. The nunchuck bear, he'll protect the schools.
Okay, yeah, let's pause for a second because there's a lot to unpack here.
No problem.
So it sounds like the nunchuck bear cares about one thing.
Yep.
And that is wrecking fools so he can protect schools?
Bingo.
All right.
Because in America right now, dude, there are many fools that need to be wrecked, and there are many schools that need to be protected.
I actually agree with you there.
Thank you.
Nunchuck bear, wrecking fools, protecting schools. Oh, remember Sammy Jenkins. This is true. The U.S. the employment, health, and electoral systems are all broken. Just to name a few. You're absolutely right. There is no argument there. And even though some states are, of course, better than others, there's no doubt about that. The idea that there's no federal regulation, the idea that the Fed doesn't protect the basic rights of workers is absurd, and it's criminally absurd. Negligently, toxically, criminally absurd. Well, I'll go with that. All right, what's the next story? Oh, Texas. Texas. Hey, sometimes if you do your job right as a satirist or a humorist, you are the story. And yes, I'm going to blow my horn a little bit. I touched on this yesterday while I was playing Jenga at 3 p.m. Eastern with a bunch of you all. And so, yeah, occasionally, if you do your job right as a satirist, you become the story. And this was from USA Today yesterday. Fact check. Satirical post says Ted Cruz lost his Marriott hotel points after Cancun trip. Once again, satirical post says Ted Cruz lost his Marriott hotel points after Cancun trip. And here's that man, the legend, Ted Cruz, senator from Texas. And who is that satirist? I would say I am that guy. I am the satirist who made fun of Ted Cruz. So not only have I been in Snopes recently, thank you, Snopes. Snopes doesn't care if I thank them or not. They just cover stories that they're going to cover. The claim, Ted Cruz lost his Marriott hotel points after traveling to Cancun during the Texas storm. So Texas Ted Cruz faced intense backlash following his family trip to Cancun, where residents in the state battled a deadly winter storm, which was further intensified by the loss of access to power and water for millions. Basically, the rest of the article, the end of it, as Cruz navigated the public consequences of taking his trip to Cancun, an article published on Pathos, that sounds familiar, claims he lost his Marriott hotel points as punishment for his trip. What? The article, written by Andrew Hall, claimed that hotel company Marriott revoked all of Cruz's award points following his decision to leave Texas, while the state's resident suffered from the winter storm. Yes, my name in USA Today, a national newspaper that no one reads. But it still has millions of copies underneath hotel doors daily. And basically, yeah, you can go on Pathos. You can go, the link to my blog is down in the description. But basically, I got on USA Today, got on their radar screen. Did I get any perks for this? Did I get any new traffic? No whatsoever. But I feel this, viewers and people in the chat, when I tell Ted Cruz to F off and it goes national, there's a small chance that he knows that it was me that told him to go F off. And so that makes me feel good. And when I tell Ted Cruz to F off, then I feel like I am, for all of us, telling Ted Cruz to go F himself sideways with a monkey wrench. That's how I feel about this. Right? Simply Secular? Yeah. He has become a favorite target of mine. The targets change over time. During the Trump administration, I did a lot of stuff on Trump, but now in post-Trump world, Ted Cruz just rose to the top of the heap pretty quickly. He will hunt me down. Well, yeah, right. So they mentioned they mentioned Andy Hall as if everyone should know it. Hey, they shouldn't know my name, but they should contribute to my Patreon account or buy me a coffee or buy some of my merch. Cheap plug. So there you go. That's the best plug for supporting me, or throwing a couple of shekels or a couple of dollars or pounds or euros my way, is that I get to make fun of people online and maybe sometimes get on a national stage and do it for people we all hate, right? It's a gift. Anger is a gift of mine that I want to share with the world. Oh, I hope he sees it too, Marmaduke. Actually, I was talking to my boss on Pathos down the go, and then he goes, Andy, there's a good chance that he knows, he's aware of this and who wrote it. So that should make you feel good. Well, the best thing about whistleblower protection, I don't need it since I don't have a job right now. Believe it or not, this is my job and the blog is my job. So yes, at some point I may need whistleblower protection. Man. Yeah, so that's my small bite out of fame. on USA Today. It's sad but true. It's a small accomplishment for me. So that's our 2 Texas stories right there. Hey, Rage. Rage can appreciate this, right? Is that I got on USA Today for one of my satirical pieces, busting the balls of Ted Cruz. Got my name mentioned and all that other crap. But of course, just like everything else on the internet, it sounds really good. But, got nothing out of it, really. Besides the enjoyment, and I guess this is the thing, right? And this is the basic moral for those people who are doing on you. If you're an entertainer in general, more than likely you're doing it just because you love entertaining, just because you love doing what you're doing. Writers write because they love to write. Satirists satirize because they hate certain people. So that's what I do it for. It's pretty cool though. Andy's going to have to live in Russia. Well, the thing is, I really haven't made fun of Vladimir Putin too much. So maybe, maybe I can go there. Or, someplace else, someplace that isn't a criminal enterprise, because that's what the Federation of Russia is. It's just a criminal colony of criminals. All right. So what are we going to be doing? QAnon. I'm going to share a video with you all about people who were hip deep in QAnon, and now they aren't. This is from CNN. I thought it would be worth sharing with you all because there is a crisis. There's a potential crisis coming up on March 4th, which you may or may not realize. We touched on this a couple of times here on the show, that people think there's going to be a big reckoning on March 4th, which is only a few days away from here. All right, so let's share this video and see what's going on.
Of the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, investigators are trying to figure out what happened and how they missed the signs. But one group of Americans did not miss the signs. They saw it coming, and they see another violent battle brewing today. You're about to meet a group of 3 former QAnon followers and 3 people whose loved ones are still in the grip of QAnon's conspiracy theories. All of them tell us that the next alarming date comes this week, Thursday, March 4th, to be exact. QAnon has a new plan for violence and destruction, and they don't let reality get in their way. Does anybody understand what is supposed to be happening on March 4th?
So March 4th, they're thinking that Donald Trump is going to come back and he's going to be the president. Apparently, what they said is way back when, it was like 1871. Inauguration Day used to happen on March 4th. And then Donald Trump will be back and he'll be inaugurated as either the 19th president of the United States Republic or the first president of some new something.
They also think that there's going to be this great financial reset, both in our country and around the world, where debts are just going to be forgiven, where if you have a mortgage, you don't owe on it anymore. It's just,
it's unconnected with reality. They think that this is a second coming, basically, some kind of divine resurrection of Donald J. Trump's political career, and that he's going to do some kind of Tyler Durden act and wipe away all debts. This is how, I'm going to use a strong term right now, bonkers, some QAnon people. And you can see the relationship between QAnon and evangelical Christianity. Pasta Mike, what's up, Pasta Mike? And I love the all caps Pasta Mike. That wasn't supposed to happen. Let's try that again. All right, we'll go on with the video here. And I just lost the video, so because my computer just did something weird. Let's try this again with the video.
It's so ludicrous, to put it bluntly. I mean, I still have family members that don't even believe that Joe Biden is president.
Charlotte, is it true that one of your sisters does not today believe that Joe Biden is president.
Yes, she tells her daughter that she thinks that the White House is set and that Biden isn't actually president.
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
It is mind-boggling.
Well, the person that I started talking to anyways that had initially got me into QAnon, he was like, Joe Biden's not even real. Like, that's why he's wearing a mask all the time, because the fake face that he's wearing, the mouth doesn't move correctly when he talks. So they really
You can't even say it without laughing.
It's not even Joe Biden.
Okay, so for those of you on the top row who did for a while fall into QAnon, did you ever understand who was running it? Did you ever know who Q was? No. Jay, I mean, did you understand who was feeding this information and like who the ringleader of it was?
No.
I didn't know that I was in a QAnon group until I got out of it. Like, I had no idea that the information I got was QAnon information.
So do you guys think that there are particular media types, media personalities who also are a gateway to conspiracy theories and QAnon?
Oh, well, Newsmax, which is a TV station, definitely. Their reportings are really off the wall.
I can remember when Glenn Beck joined Fox News was when my mom became very susceptible to conspiracy theories. She hung on his every word. And then in the more recent years, it's been people like Tucker Carlson.
Definitely stuff like Fox News, One American News, OAN, stuff like this is the easiest way to get into that stuff now.
I found myself, eliminating 98% of media so I could exclusively watch, Fox News, and they tell you, don't go anywhere else. Keep your attention here. If you go to any of these other stations, it's fake news. And that is a huge part of what's radicalizing people.
In my Telegram chats and in my groups, the only outside media sources of getting information other than the group that they ever said we could, trust would have been Newsmax, or there's Right Side Broadcasting Network. I don't know if they're actually on TV. I know that they're on YouTube.
Show of hands, how many of you today think that we do have a domestic terrorism and or white supremacy problem in this country? All of you.
Just everything happened with Trump and, just his view on the whole thing. And it just really, ignite that fire of white supremacy and racism.
My concern is that a lot of the threads that weave a lot of these conspiracies together in the Q world are very thinly veiled white supremacy, very thinly veiled anti-Semitism.
When I was in these groups, I was like, no, we're not racist. I'm not sneaking out on Wednesday nights to KKK meetings. So I thought I wasn't racist. Being out of it, I have taken it upon myself to have conversations, and I've bought books and I'm reading and I am learning. But as far as domestic terrorism, I think QAnon is a domestic terrorist group.
Just things what some of the people say, there's a lot of anger and a lot of confusion. I think it's going to get worse. I worry about a lot of violence.
The conversation that's been said in these groups is when March 4th happens, if Trump isn't back, they need to start planning. And they will switch how they talk and communicate, whether it's online or over the phone. They're going to switch the meaning of their words so nobody can pick up and flag it.
I have already picked up on that.
Do you have any examples of that?
Speaking of a certain group of people that they consider less desirable, they will use the term Canadians.
So they don't like a particular demographic here in America,
yes,
and they refer to them as Canadians.
Yes.
And is this a particular racial group?
Yes.
Yeah, can I add to that?
Yes.
You have just this huge group of people that feel that their country is in danger, their children are in danger, their freedom is in danger. And so they feel like they have to go to war and they have to fight to get things back right.
I think the biggest thing, that we're looking at, especially coming out of the Capitol riots on January 6th, is that people are emboldened to take matters into their own hands.
I'm trying to warn everybody of what I see that's going to come. And if this group cannot be stopped, and when March 4th comes and goes, we're going to be hoping and praying that they push another date out there. Because if not, the insurrection is going to be a drop in the bucket compared to what's going to happen.
I have to say that's the chilling part of this. The idea, the message, the uniform message from all.
Oh, there's so much to unpack. The person who was told that Joe Biden wasn't real because he had a mask on, and his chin doesn't, and his mouth doesn't work properly, so that's why Joe Biden needs to wear a mask. The idea about calling so-called undesirables Canadians, it just sums up so much. It just sums up so much about QAnon and the absurdity. Just what is going on there? And Vesta, you're right. I really like John Delancey when he was in Breaking Bad too. He was on for a few episodes. Oh, simply secular. What did Canada do? Otherwise, war. They don't know about burning down the White House. That takes some kind of historical knowledge and perspective. Simply secular. Come on. Well, they are. Yeah, the idea that they're calling undesirables on Telegram within their chats Canadians. My fictitious God, that is horrible. And simply secular. Joe Biden is actually Joel Zazak from planet P1 Den. And if he is an alien, he may have been sent here to save us from ourselves, indeed. And this is interesting, my dear Scarlett. They rope them in gradually. It's called breadcrumbing. I think it's, once again, whenever you have a cult and you're trying to bring people in, you do want to throw out those breadcrumbs, right? I'll tell you, my interaction with the Moonies back in the day in London, I was just a kid backpacking through the UK, and some hot woman just started chatting me up, and that was a pretty awesome breadcrumb, to tell you the truth. Of course, it all went sideways, but yeah. A common tactic, breadcrumbing. Oh, Brainbug, you're already on some list of Canadians by Q, more than likely. Oh, man. Nuts. So I had to share that with you all. I was just checking. Rage is going to be doing, pivoting a little bit, the Rage is going to be doing a premiere of a video about Woody Allen at 10:30. Today, so check that out. Right, I have not seen any of the Woody Allen documentary on HBO. I'm interested in seeing it. Woody Allen is really like his work. The guy, not so much, but I do like his work. Just like with Joss Whedon, like the work, don't like the person, which is unfortunate, because when you like someone's work, you want to like the person who created the work, but that's not often the case, So what did we cover? It's going to be Steve. I'm looking forward to it because, I have to tell you, Rage, I'm a big fan of Woody Allen's work. Manhattan, my favorite movie of all time is Crimes and Misdemeanors. I think Crimes and Misdemeanors out in 86, I think. It might have been 88. Is a great discussion about being moral in a moralless universe. It's a great existential movie, and there's these two storylines that run parallel to each other. I don't want to give too much away, but it was 1986, right? But Crimes and Misdemeanors is my favorite movie of all time. I believe in bitter truths, Rage. I believe in doing comedy means you automatically are involved in bitter truths one way or the other. And we got to be, we have to be willing to hear them, these bitter truths. And if I can handle Joss Whedon and all the crap about Joss Whedon lately, then I can handle the Woody Allen stuff, definitely. Though as a filmmaker, as a comedian, as a writer. I mean, I think he does do good work. But once again, you know, it's like Caravaggio, the painter, great painter. Bad guy, bad person. Martin Landau, yeah, won an Academy Award for that, as well as he should have. It was an incredible movie, and definitely worth anyone's time, especially if you're an atheist, especially if you think about what it's like to live in a moral-less universe, and how do we find meaning? Yeah. It is a great story, but once again, you know, I am going to check out that video, Rage, on your channel at 10:30. The Woody Allen one. It is a premiere, so I'm assuming you'll be in the chat. And yeah. All right, everyone. I just talked about Woody Allen for a few minutes and my disappointment with him and Joss Whedon. Oh, life is just full of comedy, tragedy, and disappointment at times, right? But there is hope. There is hope. There is always hope. When there is life, there is hope. Oh, Space 1999. I really liked Space. You know, I grew up on Space 1999. It was a classic 1977 space opera-ish kind of show about the moon being blown off its orbit and gone into deep space. Here we go. Simply Secular. We should start a thing in Q that if you've ever sat in a police car or government vehicle, the government is tracking you through your tests. I think that's a pretty brilliant idea, Simply Secular. I can get behind that. So what did we go through, everyone? What did we talk about today? We talked about Poland, an LGBTQ win in the courts in Poland. We talked about 2 Texas stories about how employers are making things even more miserable for the people, for the good people of Texas. We talked about how USA Today took up one of my stories, put my name on the national head spotlight, and yet, disappointingly, I still do not have any death threats. That's the power of comedy. There are good people out there who do good work and get all the crap in the world. But as soon as you tell people you're a comedian, they may hate you, but it's very unlikely they're going to send you death threats. And for that, I'm somewhat thankful for. We did that story about QAnon, which was nuts. So I guess that means we are going to be coming to the last funny. Oh, you get that would make me feel much better, as long as it's hilarious threats with a comfy chair and all that, right? Because that's unexpected. No one suspects that. All right, so I'm going to be careful. I am definitely careful. But thanks, Digital Bookworm. I appreciate that. So let's finish off with something funny, right? And then we'll put a bow on it. What is something funny?
There was this actor named Angelicus in 408 BC who messed up one of his lines oh so famously. Then 2 millennia later we still know his name, and poets through the ages carry on his shame. He was in the play Orestes by the famed Euripides. He was supposed to say, after a storm again I see a calm sea. But he messed up the accent, and in front of all those people he said, after a storm again, I see a weasel. Lord, let it make me famous when my career goes down the tubes. This one's for Angelicus, I see the weasel too.
Oh, Angelicus, you are the patron saint of all of us entertainers. Oh, you're going to asphyxiate me with a silk scarf. Well, you know, there are horrible ways to go, but I guess that's not one of the worstest ways at all, right? Angelicus, right? The patron saint of all entertainers. Everyone, thanks for showing up today. I had a lot of fun. I always have a lot of fun. I'm going to be checking out Rage's show at 10:30 about Woody Allen and that whole. It's going to be icky. I know it's going to be icky, right? It's going to be icky, but I'm going to try to. White knuckle it. I'm going to try to white knuckle it, right? And try to get through it all. Simply Secular new threats. We're going to douse you in maple syrup and cover you in goose feathers, then make you live. Oh, so the Celine Dion. That's the crime against humanity right there, Simply Secular. He does, John Hudson, he sounds like Weird Al, but I also think he has a They Might Be Giants vibe to him too. They Might Be Giants vibe. I think if you're losing oxygen, you would notice. But that's, I don't know, that's a guess on my part. Everyone, 3 p.m. today. I'm doing Jenga. Any support that you can do, that would be fantastic. It takes over 5 minutes for me to set up the first clip I use. A lot of nasty setup. Well, yeah, I mean, there is so much to the story because there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of history between the players, Rage. And so I could see how it could be an extensive video. And I'm sure there's going to be more than one. I mean, there might be more than one video because it's an ongoing series on HBO, I think. I don't know if they dropped all the videos, all the episodes at once. Oh, actually, Critical Cripple. They Might Be Giants is scheduled, or they are scheduled to come here in the Boston area next year, I believe in April. The girlfriend's not in the chat, so she can't correct me or to confirm this, but I believe we both have tickets to see They Might Be Giants next year when they come around to the Boston area, which I'm totally psyched up about. Yeah, Canada needs an official policy, an official sorry for Celine Dion. There's no reason for her. Yeah, definitely. I'm with you. Oh, hey, so what? They Might Be Giants. We going to go see them next year? Is that the plan? The girlfriend? Is that the plan? I don't know. Oh, yeah. I'm horrible at this. I'm horrible at asking people to hit the like button. I'm horrible at asking people to subscribe. I'm trying to get better at that. Yeah, dude. Yes, we have tickets. Woohoo! Hopefully. Well, I mean, it's next year, so there's an expectation that we'll all be vaccinated and these indoor shows won't be little death factories of virus. So I am pumped about that. And I'm not happy about a lot of things. You may not know this. I may find a lot of things funny, but legitimate joy, legitimate happiness. Yeah, I am pretty happy about going to see They Might Be Giants. All right, everyone. That's me. That's the show. Like I said, I'm going to go check out Rage's show at 10:30. Check out the Woody Allen thing that he's dropping. And 3 o'clock today, we're doing Jenga. Get your Zen on. Building towers and watching them fall down. Take care. Be good. Be strong. Epic pose with a cell phone. I'll play my discontent tween. That's what I'll do. Here it is. Epic pose.